Yep, good idea.
Have we seen David yet?
No, he will not be here tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a tape going. I understand Safety Sue won't be with us this evening.
I made it at least for a little while.
Yep,
Oh.
there's Doug.
But we always
On
look for that
vacation.
sparkling smile, Doug.
I don't know about that, but it's good to see you. You look like you feel a little better tonight, Eddie.
It's you get those days.
Okay, all right.
This
We'll take them.
talk to my wife about this. 13 minutes ago, it was not one of those days.
Oh,
Little flip around, a little flip around.
okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm banking on. They keep telling me it'll get better and better and better. I just all at once to one better, not to better, just one better.
Sure.
But hey, we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, at least you got this to look forward to on Wednesday, so I know that helps.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I wanted to work on the newsletter today, but it wouldn't click. So I'll probably set up out there tomorrow to do it. My home station now is the front veranda, the porch. And a wife will occasionally join me out there, just with her computer or her book or whatever. But
Right.
our 13-year-old Skipper Key is she's pretty much gone deaf, and everything's kind of in a fog to her right now. Poor dear. And but we'll be out there, and if the right sound from a car door comes up or somebody hollers across the road to somebody else, she'll get out and run to the edge of the sidewalk to do the protection mode. I'm here. Everything's under control. So I spend the whole day trying to talk to her.
Yeah.
Won't hurt anybody. She's just out letting people know who's in charge of this place.
Yeah. A little bit of assertion there.
Oh yeah, she's the mama dog.
Yeah.
Eddie.
Hey, Trey.
I just put what I'm gonna recommend. It's a special request, and just repeat it throughout the evening. Anybody that's going to AAW to go on chat and just put AAW, their name and phone number.
Okay, you're
So-
checking up on them. Is that what the deal is? You're checking up on them?
No. So I can actually see somebody in person instead of on the screen.
Right.
That's,
Yeah,
that's how I
shake
feel
hands.
about it. That's how I
Oh.
feel about it. Same thing going to happen with me with SWAT. I want everybody, let's meet, have a common meeting place or whatever, so I can bump into people. That's the beauty of those functions we go to. That's it.
Yeah, but if
Make
you
sure
can
you
remind
tell
people, if you can remind
Hey,
people,
Trace.
just put remind people if you go into if you go into AAW, just go into chat. I already did mine. I just put AAW, your name and phone number, so we can get hold of each other while we're out there.
Okay, Doug Miller, put that in there. Doug's sitting in there. Yeah.
I suggest everybody make sure you take your contact list with you too.
If
So
you
you
can.
His phone number.
Yep. My
Maybe
name and number's in
call 'em
there.
up.
I'm not
Mine's in the
certain mine's been updated, but I'll check.
Mine's in the list, but it's still, who's actually going to be there type thing. So,
Absolutely.
These functions are like family reunions with family you really like.
Yes.
I keep been saying that for 20 years about SWAT. It really is. When I first saw Billy Burt on the screen here, I said, I know that guy. And then a couple other folks, I know him. I've seen him. And then after a while, you get to realize you've been meeting and talking to these people for 20 years. Every once in a while you bump into them. It's a cordial thing. There's so little pressure at some of those events.
yeah. Well, OTI has a booth there, so I'll be either at the booth or around somewhere. But anyhow, just let people know it, and we can get together and do that.
Be really nice. I look at like my dad used to say, bum to people like that, you get to lie in person. You know?
There you go.
Hey, Doug. Doug, I just sent you a text. Oops, sorry, my camera's off. Hey, this is
Okay.
Riz. I'll be at AAW with Trace and Rich Colvin too. So
Excellent. Good.
Cool.
I'll be there.
awesome.
Okay, you sent a text. That's what I saw. I was frantically looking through the chat. It ain't there.
Billy Burton.
No, yeah, I sent it to your actual phone number, so we'd be in our contact list.
Yes, that's fine. That's great. Tremendous. Thank you.
Well, I'm gonna save the chat tonight, so I'll have the list of everybody that's said they were going on one
Yeah.
sheet.
I use my phone, so I'll have to go back and get a piece of paper and a pen here in a little while and go through.
I saw a peek into Billy
Thank
Burt's.
you.
I saw a peek into a messy studio just now.
Yeah,
Aw.
quick preview, just to check on him.
He's got a piece
Don't
on
want to put him,
his face.
don't want to put him on the spot yet. He's diligently working forward.
I like the
Gotta
name
get
of the
that
business.
Duxbury jig going. You can do it, Billy. We're all sending you positive vibes, buddy.
Oh, I did it,
All right. Good
I
job.
saw the preview.
more or less. Well, I blew my Dutch chuck up working on a practice piece for tonight's demo.
Oh, my.
And so I've been working feverishly trying to
Yeah,
get a new one built, and I think it's gonna work. We'll see.
right on. Thank you for the effort on that, Billy. It would have been easy to, throw your hands up and say, yeah, had a mishap and can't perform tonight. But, so I really appreciate that.
That's not the Billy way.
No, I'm way too stubborn.
Ain't no piece of wood gonna beat Billy. That's just it. Ain't gonna beat him.
It was close though.
Put up a good tussle.
It was close.
From what I heard, you had the whole house rewired. You're all set to go.
Well, I do have new,
Yeah, Jim.
I do have new, a new router and a new modem.
I think the whole neighborhood's better off from what you've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get everybody improved.
Hey, Joe.
My check's still.
Hey, Paul, how are you, buddy?
You
Not too
can
bad. How you doing?
How's the weather over there, Paul?
Pretty good at the moment, actually. Maybe not quite as warm as you, but yeah, it's not bad. Not bad for England.
Yeah. Well, I think we got the English weather coming in over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all cloudy, getting ready to be gray.
No, we've had sunshine the past couple of days,
Yeah,
so it's
nice.
been good.
Good for you guys, It's awesome.
Did things
Aw.
settle down after the coronation? You guys were really busy over there.
It was busy in the southeast, yeah, that weekend, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I heard that all the hotels were pretty well fully booked and very expensive.
Oh, I bet it was a madhouse with the coronation going
Yeah.
on over there.
Definitely.
Oh my.
yeah.
If he was a local, he probably couldn't go down and get a pint like he used to be able to.
Yeah.
They probably doubled the prices on that.
The fellow that maintains our lawn really great all around handyman type guy. He's the fellow that tore down what was remaining of the shop and done some other repair work around there for us. He's heading to Scotland for 2 weeks to make it to a wedding reception. And so what are you going to do? And he said, above LS, not drive around in a car. What? He said, you live, when you go to that country and you live right, you ride the train. He said, every place you go, you travel by rail. And he said, and if not on a rail, it's on a bicycle. It's the only way to see the world. And he's adamant about it.
Well, you can definitely ride the rail, that's for sure. But I don't know if there's a direct rail service to all the Scotch breweries. That'd be hanging out in the Speyside side.
Yeah.
You have a couple pints and try to drive on the other side of the road. You ride the rail.
I can tell you as a young 23-year-old, it is very difficult to do.
You got it.
I don't know. I think after some Speyside Scotch, driving on the wrong side be just fine.
Well, I didn't have a problem with it, but the oncoming traffic, I believe they had an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some dangerous, looking back, probably not a good choice.
I left the car in the church parking lot and walked over the hill and gave the rental guy his keys. I said, there, your car's up in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You better go get it. I was in the Bahamas somewhere, I think.
Yeah, but we did a trip to one of those islands, and my wife went off with somebody, and they were gone 15 minutes before they ran into some money. The other lady driving just right into what. They came back and they were busted up a little bit, and what's the matter? They were on the wrong side of the road.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
In Bermuda, I was on a moped. I was doing good until I hit the damn traffic circle. I go the other way. Holy smokes. You'll see tracks through the fountain in the middle there.
Yeah,
Fountain
it's
and
funny.
there's a little garden on the other side. Man, I went right through it.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
funny
Yeah.
Americans going to a traffic circle for the first time over in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing to navigate. But yeah, it's funny.
We're getting more and more of them here, though.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
turnabouts,
makes
is that they call them the turnabouts?
Yeah.
Well, it's round and you have
Yeah.
your two lanes, going straight, to go to the opposite direction, or if you're going straight, you get in the right lane and hang around and just veer off on the road you're supposed to be on.
Well, don't try to.
Yield to the correct person. Roundabouts are awesome because traffic is constantly flowing instead of sitting at a stop sign or a stoplight.
It works good if people can understand right, left, wrong.
Yeah.
Well.
Don't believe you can ever train any coon asses to do that in Louisiana.
They're
better
over
Oh, yeah, right.
No.
They get there and want to take the shortest route. Well, I want to go that way, so I just cut across right here. And
Oh, wow, Eddie, I haven't heard coon ass in a long time.
it's
Now, I gotta
it's-
say that one of my traffic circles, they put one in a fairly major intersection. It's now become the most accident-prone intersection in the state.
Yep,
So-
they took them out in Raleigh. They had to take them out. They had double ones. They had an inner circle and an outer circle. Now
Well,
they just have an outer circle, but oh my God, there was something piled up there. I mean, 24/7, they were pulling stuff out of there.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
a friend of mine's a state policeman north of New Orleans, over in one of the parishes that has him. He said he avoids the area because if he's there and he sees an accident, he is stuck there. Because before he gets that one cleared, there'll be another one.
Yeah.
And and he says he has to be the first on scene to take it if it's a parish property rather than a state property. But he said there are waivers because if somebody may be injured, so you have to stop. He said, I've spent the entire day fender bumper to fender bumper to fender bumper all day long right there. And he said, and after I get one, 4 more will happen right behind me. And he said, and then 4 more happen with all those people watching those people. So might be
Yeah.
great for traffic, but some of this stuff requires thought processes. It's like, think how I
Hey,
feel
if
right now.
anybody's got any gallery, let's throw the items in the chat here, and we can move on and take a look at some wonderful pieces that's been made since the last week. So
Oh,
throw it in
yeah.
gallery, or throw it in chat. I'll take your name down in the order as they are, and I'll call any in that order.
I ain't got
Yeah,
enough.
I know I got Dave Kingsley. I already told him I was going to come back to him. What do you
Yeah,
say,
but
Dan? You got
Dave's
anything?
piece came out so nice that he
Really?
could put it in an art gallery. So, I mean, you know, he rescued his and then phew, it went because he did a good job rescuing it. That's, and remember, we want to see those rescues. We do, or hear about them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact. Let's see. Oh, wow. Getting some action here.
All right, come on, folks, get on board.
All right. So give me a, let me take some names down here, and we'll go to gallery. So Eddie, if you can just keep entertaining the folks while I'm doing this, please.
Right. Hey, don't forget, folks, we have got those club stickers available. We didn't go anywhere on the patches. The patches didn't work out. And that was gonna be, we'll come back to that one day when the timing is right. But we have the stickers, and you get a strip of 10 of them for a cost of only $5. For $5, you get 10 of these. They're in here somewhere.
Keep it
10 of
twice
these
the price.
stickers. And we'll mail them to you. It's a $5 support. Now, if you go to our webpage, is on the front page of our webpage, there's a link where you can find a direct link to PayPal. And if you want to pay for them by PayPal, that's fine. Use your credit card, use your PayPal account or whatever you want. If you're outside of the continental US and not in our other territories that we get mail to, I'll need an extra $1 for postage, and that'll cover it. No other kinks. We'll make it work at that point. But well, I think I sent out about 15 envelopes of them yesterday or so. So we still got a lot of folks interested in getting them. I was still sitting on, still sitting on a chunk of them. So let us know. And that was funded privately because the club, we got no money. But we still have that investment. We'd like to move them along to you. I just sent a bunch of them to to Doug Miller, who's going to take them with him to AAW.
Yep.
And I'm probably going to get another coil them out because I'm going to make a note right now to Trace.
Yep.
So he's got something to give away at AAW. And if you're going to AAW, go to chat right now, make contact with a Worldwide Woodturners member by putting your name and your phone number and saying AAW in your phone number. And that way Trace has got it when he's at AAW. Don't give me your home number. When he gets to the AAW and he's looking to find you, he can call you. But if he's calling you home and you know the deal. It's like operators are standing by. No, they're not. So we get a hold of each other so we can all meet. So
Oh, yeah.
and it's interesting when you get to actually put hands on somebody and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And you will hear, we'll have some great stories. What's that?
You might want to tell them to make sure it's their cell phone number and not their household number.
Well, that's what
Yes.
he was saying, not the home number. Yep. All right.
Not the
Well,
home
hey,
number.
with that, let's go to Dave, and he can tell us what he did quickly on his recovery project, and then we will get a few of the gallery items in, and Mr. Soleil is already in, so we want to get him on for his demo. So, all right, Dave, you got the floor.
Well, I have this much left. It's the top half of the hollow form.
Oops.
And
Nice edge work.
yeah, I squared the end off and made a lid for it and turned it into a box. I'm still trying to figure out something to do with this. I'll figure out something.
Oh, yeah.
Dave posted
A
his.
birdhouse top,
Yeah, there you
So
go.
Dave posted his final box that's in it, and that went off to an art gallery under the recovery project of the week on
Yes.
our Facebook page. So if you want to see it, you can go there and see it, folks.
Yeah, I used maple on the top. This is cherry, but I used maple on the top and then I put a little ebony knob on it. It's cute.
Yeah, it turned out really well. He did a good job on it. Sure did. All right, let's go
Yeah.
across the pond. You know, we are worldwide, so let's go to Mr. Hanneby. Hey, Paul. How are you?
Oh, caught him in the middle of dinner.
Uh-oh.
Catch you eating.
Sneaking a bit of chocolate.
The midnight snack there.
Got this
Yeah.
one here.
No, pretty,
Oh,
Paul.
yeah, that's
That's
pretty.
Bur oak, about 15 inches across. So
How deep?
piece of
4 or
wood.
5 inches deep?
Love it.
Yeah, it's about 6 inches deep, that one.
Mhm. Pretty.
That is gorgeous.
A nice bit of wood. But
Nice.
also on the
Beautiful.
inside of that came these three.
Oh, man.
Oh, nice.
So I ended up with
Spot on.
that
Oh,
four.
yeah.
That's the next one down. Then that one. And then the smallest
That's
one is that one. That's about 6
Bracken
inches
Burl.
across.
Very nice.
Yeah, nice. They turned out good.
Pulled that off excellent, Paul.
What's the
Yes.
finish? Are they oiled?
Sorry?
All right.
The finish, are they oiled?
It's a wax finish on those.
Wax? How big?
Yeah. Yeah, I was in two minds whether to oil it or wax, but in the end I went for wax.
What kind of coring system?
I've got the woodcut Max 3.
No,
Paul, I missed that. What kind of wood is it?
It's bur oak.
Okay.
We call it bur, you call it burl. But yeah, you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
bur oak, and yeah, I called it out with the woodcut Max 3, which is like you set it up on the lathe with, it's got 3 blades and you use one of the 3. I used to have the smaller version of that, the 2-bladed one, and the McNaughton boring system, but I ended up upgrading, sort of got rid of those 2 and got the Max 3 with 3 blades. And that does most of my needs, really.
That's excellent. All right. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to Reese. Hey, Reese, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good.
So I've got a recovery project. Looks nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
No.
Not so much. I got to
Good
catch
one.
at the last second. I got the last. So I think what I'm going to do, just get a Forstner, because I mean I can kind of ballpark where the center is. So I've got this little stand. So I just have to clean up. This is obviously I'll make this a little smaller, but then it'll sit. Can you see? There you go.
Yeah.
It'll sit kind of like a little plane.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'll be
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
Yeah,
say.
that'd
Or
be
you,
nice.
or you could add a third piece, a spindle piece, a post.
Oh
Make
yeah,
little-
just like a little.
Yeah, exactly. Little
Oh, there's
pedestal
an
top.
idea.
Give us
little
some
tenons on
elevation.
both little tenon, like make it like
Okay.
walnut or something dark, make it tenons on both ends and
You
Go
could
from there.
make a
Oh, yeah.
medallion.
I was gonna say, put that lawyer to use and make a beautiful medallion for the center of it.
I could do that too.
lots of
You
options.
got
I
lots
could
of
do that.
options.
Well, the
Nice.
Lawler, this is where I admit the Lawler is still in minor disarray. It's under a sheet right now, but the overhead drive at least is set up. So the overhead drive's up, and I have a nice brass bristle brush to get all the rust out of the here. Let me get this. There we go. So it's getting there. It's getting there.
What is a Lawler? Is that a Rose engine?
It's not a Rose engine. It's an ornamental leg.
Okay.
So I've got a drilling frame in it right now. I just have to get the belting up to the overhead drive that's up here, which is still not attached.
Static.
but then,
Ooh.
yeah, then I'll be able to actually do things.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
So that's,
All right.
Wow.
I'm jealous.
yeah.
ah,
You got
I
another
can't
rabbit
wait.
hole.
Yeah.
You got another
Yeah.
rabbit hole.
That's
Oh, yeah.
another life.
Oh, yeah.
Moderation.
That's another lifetime.
Yeah, that looks good.
Fabulous.
all in good
All right.
fun.
That'll
Thank
be
you.
fun. Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's go to Patrick.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, am I up?
Are you Patrick?
No, I'm Tom.
Nope.
And we got Patrick here.
No, there's Patrick.
That was a joke. Sorry.
Patrick, Patrick, you there? Oh, he went to get something to eat. All right, let's go to Tom Kenny.
Here I am.
Tom?
You were
Tom,
just
back.
there.
On again, off again.
Hello.
Oh, you moved. Yeah, I'm working on it. I got you.
Here we go. Several years ago, we went down to Tampa to see Elstert do a demo, and it was shocking. The guy is really good. And I came home and did this mahogany platter, and it got a little thin on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Of
Just
course,
a
I had
little.
done all the carving and got everything just about done and was finishing it up when I ruined it. So I chucked up another piece and was able to do it right the second time. And that's what it was supposed to look like. And that one, I believe I've got deft finish on it. And it was, it's mahogany, is about 6 inches in diameter and carved with a reciprocating carver. And the one that I failed, I haven't decided what to do to save it. It's only been 8 or 10 years, but I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah,
That sounds
still
like
pretty.
me.
All right. Nice
So
job
I-
there,
Well, I
Tom.
mean,
That's
The
real
ideas
pretty.
I got from the previous one with the base and the pedestal, I may do something like that. It's kind of spherical on the bottom, but
oh,
that may
that could be
a good way
cool.
to save it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
definitely
gonna be
solid.
pretty when it's done regardless.
Thank you.
Yes.
The moral of the story is do all the work before you do the carving. Don't carve it all up and then try to finish it.
Yeah,
Mm,
good tip.
That's all
there.
we got for tonight.
beautiful.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, well, we've got our first demonstrator up. Let's go to Mr. Mark Soleil. Mark.
Okay,
I
can
have
you hear me?
now.
Can you
Yes,
guys
sir, I
hear
see
me?
you. I
Good.
hear
Can
you
you
and
hear me?
see you.
We got you.
Yes, can you hear us?
Okay, let me get out of the chair here.
Yeah.
Have to go to work. Okay, what I'm gonna do, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to go over to my grinding machine. And I'm going to show you how to grind something that we used tonight.
Is your picture frozen?
Okay, let me flip my phone around here. If I can get it flipped around.
Yeah, he's showing low bandwidth.
Yeah, when he walked into the into
Okay,
the shop, it
here we
went down.
go.
All right, we got you, Mark.
Me?
Yeah, you're just freezing
Okay.
up every now and then.
So
You're okay.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna on the grinder, we're gonna put this little platform and we're gonna tilt it up at a little bit of an angle so we get an undercut. Okay? So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna take this flat, this is just a flat old parting tool or scraper or something. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna just grind this off at an angle this way. Right?
Your
We are
video
going
is
to take and we're going to make a what?
Your video keeps freezing on
Can
us,
you still
Mark.
see me?
Yeah, we see it
Well,
now, though.
We
Go
can see the
ahead.
tool now on. We can see the tool now on the grinder.
Okay. So we're going to make a right angle grind. Can everybody see the right angle grind?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then, once we have this right angle grind, we're gonna make that so that it, let me get the fuzz off of there. We're gonna make it so that it's about, maybe, a quarter to 5/16 inch deep, ever how deep you wanna have your recess. And then what we're gonna do, most of the chucks have a dovetail that runs about 7 degrees. So instead of continuing this right angle, here's the right angle. Then we're gonna go up here. Now we're gonna twist this back so that it's about 7 degrees. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's how easy it is to grind. And don't go up and start playing around these grinding wheels without having a stable platform so that this thing doesn't catch, right? And flip it out of your hand. And that automatically gives you an undercut. So we're going to have a sharp edge on top. Okay. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put my phone in my little holder here. So just give me a half a second.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here's the problem. If you have your bowl blank mounted on a faceplate or on a woodworm screw, right, then this does not necessarily apply. Because if it's on a woodworm screw or on a faceplate, you don't have the tailstock up to support it. And if it's a large bowl and you do have the tailstock up here to support it, then what I'm going to do is going to apply. Okay. Everybody, right? I have seen a lot of people when they have it mounted between centers and they have to make a recess for a side grain bowl. What they do, they're trying to get up and the tailstock is in the way. And it blocks the tool and they can't get under and make a recess, dovetail. Some people try to use, skews and parting tools and all gizmos. So what I've done, if my students come to my shop, then for safety purposes, I don't allow them to struggle with that tailstock up there. We go and we take this tool, right, that we have used, right? And now, let me move my tool rest up just a little bit. There we go. So now we have a right angle here. This is tapered off at about 7 degrees. And everything has an undercut. So now if I put the 7 degree side here parallel to the wood, then you can see it automatically makes a dovetail with the right angle. And when I go in, if I push this in, then it limits how deep the dovetail is. So it'll be on my chuck correctly. Let's turn on the lathe. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to make this to the size of our jaw. So if I touch this surface right here and I push in, now I've made my dovetail. And for here, then all I have to do is take this, I can push this side forward. So now I have a perfect dovetail that will fit my jaws. And it's very safe because I'm not over here messing around the tailstock. I've got total control.
Cool.
Works like a gem.
So I know there's a lot of people that do things a lot of way, but why not have a tool in your drawer that does the job automatically? It's perfect every single time.
That's nice,
And you
Mark.
can
Thanks.
Yeah.
And you can make them, if you make it out of a little bit thicker stock, that was a real thin one, right? You see, it's the same thing. We're going to parallel the 7 degrees. And if we push in, just do it real slow. Then I can go forward and clean that out. And what I have to do, let me move my tool rest just a little bit. It won't make any difference on a recess, but I always prefer, and I push it forward. Then that cleans that out. And when I go to finish my bowl, let's say that I'm making a bowl here, and that this is the bottom. Let's say that this is the actual bottom of the bowl. Right? Then all I have to do is take that out. Right, let me make this a little bit more prominent. That would be the bottom of my bowl. And with the bowl all hollowed and turned around, then I could put the bowl either in the cold jaws or have a point here, right? And make the nice clean recess on the bottom. You know, take the little tit out and sand it. So
Nice.
for a safety factor, right? Just make sure, right, that you create that little right angle, 7 degree drift, and the rest is irrelevant. Make sure that it's undercut so that the top edge is always a cutting edge. Any question?
Can we see the back of that tool? The bottom? There you go.
Yeah. But it's just, see, it's been recessed here by having that little platform on your grinder. So the top edge is the only thing that's cutting.
Yep.
Sweet.
Works as demonstrated.
So remember, when you're doing a side grain bowl, when you're doing a side grain bowl, right, the safest thing you can do is put a recess on it. If you're doing an end grain bowl, the safest thing you can do is put a tenon on it. How many people that are watching tonight have put a tenon, a small tenon, on a side grain bowl and put too much pressure on the outside and have that that tenon on a side grain bowl just slice, just chip right away?
Not me.
So try to always be safe, right? If you're doing side grain, put a recess. If you're doing end grain, put a tenon. And you'll,
Mark,
I've never had a recess ever break.
right. Mark, can you hold the tool back in the view of the camera and explain the angles on it again? We have a question in chat about it.
Okay. This is a right angle. This is canted off about 7 degrees because I use the one-way chucks and they have a 7-degree dovetail on the outside of the jaws. And then this can just be any angle, doesn't make any difference. No, what's the question?
Matt, does that answer your question?
The bottom underneath the cutting edge is slightly undercut. Is that correct?
That's correct. Everything.
Oh, I see now. Okay. All right. Thank you.
That way, only the top edge. And then if you have to go back to your grinder just to, touch up all you got to do is just touch up that, or you could hone it with a diamond hone.
And the right angle is slightly like you said, it was like 7 degrees or something like that, or is it just a straight right angle?
This is 7 degrees off. This is a right angle. And
Oh,
this
gotcha.
is
Okay.
off. So when you put this parallel to the wood, then the right angle is going in and making the dovetail.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
No, I believe that's it.
I know you guys know that I make all kinds of specialty tools because number one, I want safety. And number two, if I have to do one operation, then I pull out that tool that's designed to do that operation efficiently and safely.
Great
And it
tool.
takes all the guess. You can't be messing around this tailstock, like this and trying to get these tools up underneath and all that. Anyway, there's 1,000 ways to do things, but I'm just showing you my way to do that so that it's safe, it's clean, it's exact. Every time you do it, everything's exact. It's not too deep, it's not too shallow. It's just right for my jaws.
Very effective. I know I made one a couple years ago when you showed it a couple years ago.
Yeah, a lot of my students, we just take these old tools and we turn them into specialty tools. Does anybody want to see anything else while I have this piece on here? Do you want to see the 3 outside cuts that I do
Sure,
on a
go ahead.
flat bowl?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. I don't know how much time I've got, but it was just going to be a short thing. Okay, there's
Yeah,
three.
that's fine.
There's 3 outside cuts that I teach my students on a set. Let me put this up a little bit on a side grain bowl. Let me see if I can. Hopefully, I can get it over. Everybody can see that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the first cut is a draw or a pull cut. We put the top blade, right, 1/4 of an inch away from the wood. We put the handle of the tool on our hips and we draw the handle around with our hips, just like this. We draw it around. That is a standard pull cut. And this is okay for shaping. But the problem is, on a side grain bowl, we're coming from to the top, which is correct, but the way the blade and the wood are joining violates the first rule of wood turning. Wood can never come into a blade of a wood turning tool because it's always a scrape. So if we have a side grain bowl, we can do this, but when we come around, can anybody see that right there? When it comes off the end grain where it's all fuzzed up?
Yep.
Okay, so that shows that it's a scrape.
Yes.
The second cut that you have is a shear scrape. So now you roll your bowl gouge upside down so that the top blade is only a 64th of an inch away from the surface of the wood. And you're going to be cutting with the bottom blade. And you're going to drop the handle down as far as you can and put the end of the handle on your hip. So now when we look, I don't know if the camera can get in there. Let's see. So now let's look at it from the bottom. So now if I look at the blade on the bottom, it's now in line. The blade is totally in line with the rotation. So let's go back right here. And I'm going to put the top of the blade a 64th of an inch away from the wood. And I'm actually cutting with the bottom blade. So now when I cut with the bottom blade, this is called a shear scrape. Now, instead of the powder, I'm now going to get angel hair. And again, we're going to draw it with our hip. We never move our left. We don't draw it with our left hand. We only draw it with our hip. Here we go. We're a 64th of an inch away. Now watch, there's going to be angel hair coming off of there.
Those fine cuts.
So now when we turn the lathe off, where we had all that fuzz on the end grain, now look at that end grain. It's just a very, very little bit of fuzz, right? You could sand that out really cleanly. But we all know that that's not the final cut that we make on any side grain bowl. We always make a push cut from the bottom all the way up to the rim. And if we do a push cut, we will then we will slice the wood. Let me just take this right here. Oh, here's a good point. Let me go get my bottom feeder, just a minute. Okay, down at the bowl, if we have a bottom, I'm gonna move my thing just a little bit. I'm gonna let me make a little bit different shape here, so I'll show you how this works. So now if I take my regular bowl gouge and I have to make this final cut and I have a curve out for the bottom, if I have a curve out for the bottom like this, and I have to go make that final cut from the bottom all the way to the rim, then what's going to happen? My tool is now going to hit the tailstock, and I can't ride the bevel with my tool because I can't move it around if it's between centers. If it's once it's on a chuck, right, or it's on the cold jaws or something like that, then I could make that final cut. But here my tool is hitting the tailstock because the angle on the bowl gouge is wrong. Right? But what if I have an 80-degree angle on a bottom feeder? With the 80-degree angle on my bottom feeder, right, now I can turn that tool up through that cove and it never touches the tailstock. So we take our bottom feeder, right, and we go up in here and we roll it down just a little bit. So we put that blade, I put the blade down in line with the rotation. And now I can make that little cove cut. I can absolutely slice it. And then when I get out here, I can do what? I can then take my regular bowl gouge. I'd have to go up a little farther. I'll take it up a little farther. Let me do this. I'm gonna make this more of a bowl shape. I've got a reverse in here. Turn up the speed a little bit. I'll just do this. Okay, so now we'll go in, we'll take that bottom feeder and we're gonna do a push cut so that we have no tear out whatsoever on this outside of this bowl. Now I'm just gonna take that, I'm gonna come around. We're gonna make that a little smoother. Now, if I want, I can turn around, I can transition to my regular bowl gouge because the tailstock's not going to interfere if I have it between centers. Now we're going to do our final push cut.
All along tool handle is down.
So, let the tool do the work. Let the tool eat itself through the wood. Don't try to manhandle it. Now, when we look at the surface, right, you can see we've got just a little bit of fuzz right there. So how would we get rid of that last little bit of fuzz? Anybody know?
You're gonna do a shear scrape?
No?
One final push cut?
No, we're gonna do another push cut, but we gotta do something different with this push cut. Anybody
Orbital
else-
sand
What?
with 800 grit.
What?
Orbital sand with 800 grit.
No.
Nope.
Ask nicely.
Here
Okay,
we
Mark,
go.
what are you gonna do? What do we do here?
Here's what I'm gonna
Please.
do. I'm gonna let you guys look at where this fuzz is, and all I'm gonna do is go over to the grinder and put a fresh burr before I make the final cut.
Yeah.
Ah.
Fresh bird.
Put a burn line in there.
Resharpen the gouge. What he's saying.
It'll take me a half a second here.
Nope, go ahead. That was the obvious. I don't know how we missed that. Even when certain ones, I was preach it all the time.
Last cut should be on your fresh edge.
Right? How'd we miss that, Eddie?
I don't know. I thought he was going to pull the trick out of his bag. You know, that's.
I know, right? That's
But
what I thought too.
he went back to pure D basic wood turning.
Back to basics. Yes.
He went
Your
back
last-
to kindergarten.
It's amazing how the basics are still good.
Well, Mark is sharpening up a little bit. Remind you folks, if you're going to AAW, as a member of AAW to the symposium, and you'd like to meet with other Worldwide Woodturners members, put your name and your phone number, your cell phone number, okay, in the chat, and that way the folks that are there will have a copy of this chat and they'll be able to get a hold of you. Mark is back. I see something moving. He's probably got to raise a sharp edge and ready to go.
Right, all we've done, we never, well, I teach my students to never, ever, ever make a final cut on anything without putting a fresh burr on your tool. Sharp tools, tiny bites, how slow can I go? The mantra of a wood turner. Okay, here we go. So now, all I've done is put a fresh burr
Mark,
on.
move your camera, move your camera. We can't see it.
What,
Right there.
There you
All
go.
right, go back out. Right there. Not right.
you see that?
One more time.
There we
There
go.
you go.
There.
Okay. All right, so now we're just gonna join where that fuzzed up there. All right, now watch the difference.
And it's an absolute push cut, correct?
Right now, I just want to do this to show you the difference. You see right here where I did the push cut, but it's still fuzzed up a little bit. Now look at this. Absolutely pristine. Right, so now we can do our 400 and our 800 and our 800 in random orbit. So
There we go.
sharp tools, tiny bites, and how slow can I go? Let the tool eat itself through the wood. And I will guarantee you, right, if you practice keeping your tools sharp like that on a final cut, it saves you hours of sanding.
Yep.
So,
Amen.
so use side grain. On side grain bowls, try to use a recess as much as possible. And on end grain bowls, use a tenon. And make yourself that little tool, right? And it will be a little gem every time you have to make a recess. It's just automatic. You don't have to think about it. Just every now and then sharpen it up, and it will be totally safe. And you're not trying to, maneuver around the tailstock that's up there. That's what I wanted to say. This is the way I do it. I know there's a lot of other ways, that you've seen on this Worldwide Woodturners, but that way you're going to be totally safe if you're in there with that little recess tool.
Good
Thank you
advice,
very much.
Mark. Excellent demo, and thank you for coming in to do that tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
With that, let's go back to Eddie for some announcements.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
I'm going to check for our next demonstrator to see how he's doing. So go ahead.
Check it and watch that guy. Watch that guy. The name of his of his shop is Messy Studio. I mean, tell you something right there. All right. We've opened for demonstrations, folks. You see, this evening we have two. We had a little piece done by Mark Slay just now. And if you've never met Mark, or if you've seen one of his demonstrations, he doesn't call it wood turning. He doesn't. He threw a whole nother twist on it. He calls it wood slicing, because he's not gouging out and tearing off any wood. See what he did just now? I showed you final cut, sharp edge, or sharp edge, final cut, slow as you can go. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You have to be able to take it for the duration. And I like Mark's programs when I've seen him in person. I've seen 3 or 4 of his demonstrations, because he takes the time to take you down to basics to show them. We're looking to see what's in your basic package. Do you have a tip, a trick, an idea, a scheme, whatever that we could bring it to this club and we could share with other folks? Because we're only here for one reason. We've been here for 190 weeks. And we're here just to share information. That's right. We're closing on 200, and we love it, because we are probably one of the largest wood turning websites of its kind or wood turning clubs of its kind. But every week we sit with 70, 80, 90, 100 folks, and that's the ones we're sitting with, we're visiting with right here. But then we put this whole thing, our master webmaster, Dave, puts it on our website, and it gets repeats and replays. So what you just now saw, and you say, man, I wish I'd seen that. In a couple of days, Dave will have that piece excerpted out of our meeting and posted on our website so you can see just that demonstration. Just like I'm kidding with him about Billy Burt, just like Billy Burt's demonstration, you will come away with something from the demonstration. It doesn't fail here. It really doesn't. I put a note in our chat last week or our Facebook, that last week's demonstration by Doug Rowe, Professor Doug, was probably one of the better demonstrations I'd seen. And I'll stick with that statement, probably one of the better demonstrations I've seen. Because he took it soup to nuts and he showed you things that he would do and then asked you what you would do. Mark did that just now. So we like to get together and have these, let me show you what you can do. I do believe in that theory. Let me show you what you can do. I don't want to sit here and say, look what I can do. That's braggadocious. That's totally unnecessary. If I can't convey my thoughts, my feelings, my actions, how I turn my hand, using a bottom feeder to go around the outside of a bowl. Come on, get out of here. He used a bottom feeder to go around the outside of a bowl. I think they'd throw him out the catalog if he told anybody that. But what he did, he picked a tool that would do a cut, and be safe and give you a fantastic finish. The hell with the catalog. That's practical sense. So if you've got something like that, and we've got a handful of you folks out there in the membership that will do that, you'll step up and show us and share with us. And soon we will have one of those weeks to where we say tips and tricks. We had to change it. Now it's called the Jim Duxbury Hour. Because we go into some nicely old codger shop and see what he's came up with over all the years. And you're going to see one in a few minutes. We share what he brought in. And really, he brought something to us 6, 8, 10 months ago. And the next week we had member after member after member with versions of that same jig, modified, updated, and all this. And then Jim went back and modified his to match what he saw from the other changes. So you see what this never really ends? And that's where we don't want it to end. So if you got something to show with us, share with us, or whatever, throw it in the chat. Say, I want to do a demo. Boom, you're in there. And Mark did his on a cell phone. Billy doesn't have a real high-end production facility. Last week, Doug Rowe did his on a cell phone. Doug Miller teaches us how to do it on a cell phone. Some of our best demonstrations have been done with a simple cell phone and a little bit of patience and your talent. So I'm opening the door. If you want to be part of this group, let's jump on board. We don't have a safety director in with us tonight. Safety Sue's unavailable this evening, but let's not let safety go by the wayside at all, please. I rely on you to go to your shop, have a good time, and come back with all the fingers, all the parts working, and no injuries. We have Band-Aid Brenda standing by in case something happens, but we have to keep safety in mind at all times. We all watch these YouTubes on internet and these club meetings and all, and it really, really bothers me when I see somebody step up and do a demonstration with a tool or sharpening or whatever, and they're not wearing safety gear, their safety protective gear. As a new turner, you're looking for tips and hints. You're looking for ways to do things and be safe. So you're watching a guy that proposes that, or a gal who's proposing that they are a really good turner, and I want to show you something, but what is the first thing I take away from it? You're going to show me how to do it unsafely.
Yep.
So let's gear up. It takes a second. It really does. And you'll learn after a while that it's not a problem putting the shield on. It's not a problem wearing a dust mask. It's a problem to getting your eyes repaired or having asthma problems or. Those are problems. The rest of this are convenience factors to keep you safe. So please think about what you're doing. And here's a really crazy one for you. I'm saying be careful what you're doing. Is your first aid kit up to date near the shop? Do you have what you need near the shop? If it's 100 feet down the house to the medicine cabinet, that's a long 100 feet. Yeah. So let's do when I was in the construction world, I called it a second aid kit, not a first aid kit. First aid kit was on the wall, had a tab on it, it was sealed up, and that was for emergencies, for first aid. But the regular things like extra Band-Aids in a little plastic container on the table, a little alcohol, a little eye wash, things like that. Little leftover parts and pieces from the house. Put them in a Tupperware and get the Tupperware soon because they're going out of business. But put it in a Tupperware container and put it on the counter in the shop. Paint it red if you have to so you don't lose it. But have something there for immediate action. And above all else, have a form of communication. We heard a while back where one of our members said he took a fall. He had no way to contact his wife going in and out of the house and such. I am looking at a similar problem with my in-laws. Upper 80s. He likes to go play in the shop and all, but if he fell between the shop and the house, there's no way the wife would know he's down and out or hurting or just can't get up. So let's be aware that somehow you need to be able to communicate with people that are a distance away from you. Ring a bell, hammer on a garbage can, whatever it takes. But work it out with them ahead of time. And let's be safe. That's it. It's coming up on the top of the hour, folks. This is worldwidewoodturners.org, your wood turning club. Enough hype on that. We're here because of you. And if you've got something to throw in tonight, do so. We're going to go to Alamo City, Texas, and to a dirty shop, messy shop. Is it messy shop or dirty shop?
Messy
both.
studio.
Messy studio. I gotta get it. I gotta get it right. I don't want to make this guy mad. That's for sure. We're going to
Further
Billy
ado,
Bird.
Billy Bird. Come on down.
Every time I clean up, I do something and it's not clean anymore. So the messy studio is what it is. And along the lines of what Eddie was saying, it's only about 75 feet up the hill to my house. And if I need my wife to get down here to me, I got this tip off of one of our turners, one of our members. I purchased a wireless doorbell and I've tested it. The ringer works just fine. It came with two, and he had a link in the chat a month or so ago, I think. And that's what I ordered. You get one clicker and I've got two doorbells. So I could put them in two different parts of the house, but I don't need to. And if she's out of town, one of them I'll be taking next door to my neighbor. And I'll tell him, that I need you to plug this in. And if you hear it go off, you need to come check on it. So I will always have somebody handy. And I keep it handy.
Important move.
So
You may not need help, but when you do,
yeah, and you never know. You never know.
Oh.
So what I'm gonna do is, well, first let me show you. I've been practicing on this piece. I was gonna try to make it a four-sided, so actually 5-axis bowl. And while I was working on this one, this is Spalted Hackberry. It's going to be really pretty when it's done. But Butterfinger.
It wants to be birdwood, it looks like.
Well, I tell you what, maybe. So anyway, while I was working on it, I broke my duck's chuck. That's what I'm calling this thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I like
Do what?
I like the abbreviated version.
They're guaranteed.
Well, I broke it. Well, let me show you. Well, yeah, you can see that. That's the relief hole. Where opposite the slit,
Yeah,
and I snapped it right there.
not bad.
And I have no idea how, but it happened anyway. So I worked feverishly all afternoon making a new one. And this one, I've only got 3 marks on instead of 4. And I've also decided, because of how this is kind of looking and how it's come out, 4-sided is really kind of anticlimactic. I think 2-sided, so 3 axes or axes, or 3-sided, 4 axes will give you a better look. Just my opinion, based on what I'm seeing off of this. So without further ado, let me switch views. Yeah, you don't need to see a mode. Are y'all happy with that angle?
Yeah.
You move it a little closer to the headstock side.
Only if I do this.
Ooh, how about, yeah, I like that.
Good.
Everybody else like that angle?
Yep, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've got this camera right here pointing it that way, and I can switch to that in a little bit if we need to.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on it for you, Billy.
So first order of business always is throw your face shield on the floor and dust it off. It's not been a good day, folks. I'm hoping it's a better evening.
Yeah, it got better for you an hour ago. It's all good.
Doing great, Billy.
You got it.
Day. Well, it's been one of those weeks, it happens. So I've already tested the speed. I've got this set up. I'm going to be cutting 3 sides. I don't know how far we're going to get on this tonight, because it's going to require sanding, and you know how I am about sanding on a demo. Light cut. Oh, I will show you this. You can see a red line right here. That's my do not pass mark. So I'm only going to cut down to that line with each of my 3 axes. Work the lathe, get the speed before you cut, really. And I like to stop every now and then and make sure I'm not exceeding my distance, which I'm getting really close to my red line. And it's not cutting too badly. Now, how am I chucked? I forgot to mention that. You've seen this chuck used before. I've demonstrated this chuck before. So how am I holding this bow in this chuck?
You got a tenon turned to the size of your duck's chuck.
Exactly. I have a tenon on the back of it that 1 5/8 inches. It fits that hole that's in my chuck.
Billy, you might also, Billy, could you show, you have 2 red lines. Can you show where your register line is to get that?
What register line?
Well, how did you get 2 red lines?
Well, actually, I only have 1 red line. I have a red one and I have a pencil one. And,
Okay.
and from the center mark right here, from my center hole
Yeah,
when I had it, when I was centering it up. I just put a compass in there and I said, I want my no pass mark to be about 1/4 of an inch in. And I want to leave me about 1/4 of an inch for the inside of my bowl. So,
okay. Mm,
so I just used the compass and drew a circle.
okay,
I cheated.
yeah,
Very
you're right.
intuitive.
You're registering out the other side. Anyway, go for it.
I don't understand, but anyway, this is what I've been cutting away. You can see that right here. I've got just a tiny bit more to go. I don't want to go too deep. And I'm getting fairly good cuts. So now I'm going to do a little bit of a shear cut here. Because this is a side grain bowl, and I will be getting some tear out. And especially this is spalted. You can see the spalting. This is spalted blackjack oak, and it's a little bit wormy. And I've got a few cracks, but I'm not worried about that either. I like wood that has character. Okay. I really don't want to go any deeper than that. I don't think. So I'm going to do a quick sand after I turn the dust collector back on. How's my audio and stuff? Am
You
I
sound
lagging?
good, Billy.
It's good.
I'm not lagging any good.
Video is great. Audio is great.
It's all good.
And I will take it through higher grips. That was just 120. I just wanted to make sure that I got rid of some of the tear out and the tool marks I had. For those that might want to try something like this, I would make one suggestion. And that is start off with a wood like soft maple or box elder, something that's not quite as hard as blackjack oak or hackberry, but that's what I have, so that's what I'm using. Why am I saying that? You might save yourself a little consternation and sorrow. It's just I work with a lot of hardwoods because that's what I have, so I'm used to it. But it can be frustrating if you're not careful and you got to take the time.
Especially in a demo.
Yes, especially in a demo. And now, see, I had this registered to my mark. And this new chuck is a little tight. Take it back where you're supposed to be. I'm in registration number 2, which is a 1/2 inch off of center. I meant to mention that a while ago and forgetting. My rememberer is faulty. My forgetter is flawless. Yeah, I shouldn't have to move my tailstock any because I left it in the same spot. Just gonna make sure it's clear. Face shield down. Off we go. Like that.
Puppy's got a bit of wobble to it.
Yeah. And with this big Powermatic, it can handle it. I'm turning about 866. Let me see where I am on the line. And I am right there. So one more little steer set, steer straight back. Come on now. Go ahead and still. And that last little thing was this wing of the chuck hitting this part of my chisel. Not as pretty a cut as I had a while ago, but not bad. There's a lot more ends there than what I did. And this is almost girl-like with the figure in this black coat. One more turn.
So what are you doing right there, Billy?
I'm turning to my registration mark. So I've got, I chucked this up earlier and indexed it. And that's why I've got these blue marks on here. You see one there, you see one there, and you see one there. And so I am putting that index mark or registration mark on my registration mark on the chuck so that it's where it should be. And those are 120 degrees apart to give me my 3 axes.
And so that's going to generate the faucets on the
Yeah.
bowl there.
Yeah, it's just like it's like when I demo or did I demo my 3-sided anything. I do 3-sided boxes and I'll do some with a
Right.
twist. And I usually do those between centers.
Yep.
And I go from 1 to 1 and 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, etc. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yep.
except this time, this way, I'm not having to move all of that around
Right.
because I'm using a tenon, but I have these registration marks still in, and the way I got those was I actually chucked it up in the center and made my first mark and used my indexing to take it 120 degrees, made my second mark, used my indexing to take it 120 degrees, made my third.
Right on. Just wanted you to explain it, that's all.
Yeah, that's no
Thank you.
problem. That eliminates the math and all of that that you might otherwise have to do.
That's what I meant when I said show them the indexing, because that's the important.
Ah, I
that-
got you.
That's,
We got there. We
Yeah.
got there. We just went about it the wrong, the long way. It's okay.
So,
But-
sorry, Jim. You don't always have to draw me a big picture, but it better be a Rembrandt.
Yeah.
you got it, doesn't hurt.
As long as the self-portrait has all of the ears.
Yeah. Oh, that was Van Gogh. Is Van Gogh gonna hear us or Rembrandt? I can do it. And I already had a rough day on the outside of this bowl. And so what I'm doing is I'm watching this shadow line over here and I'm trying to keep that same shape so that it's the same all the way around the bowl on all three sides. Otherwise, you'll end up with one that's this way and one that's that way or not so much. And I don't want that. I want it to be as symmetrical as possible. And I am almost there. Got just a tad more. Now, don't get anxious. Nobody likes an anxious village.
Also, what you're doing is a straight-sided bowl. If you did an OG bowl, you'd get a three-sided OG bowl.
Yeah. It's called an OG because when you look at it, you go, oh, gee. Okay, bad humor, my bad. I think I'm gonna live with that. Now, I can go back after I follow this out and plan the rest of this out and make sure back, and I will do that. And that's also when I will decide whether or not I want to fill these cracks or leave it natural and how I want to deal with the bug holes, etc. So so now you can see, let me change. You should be able to distinctly see three different sides on this bowl. Well, it's not a bowl yet. It's not hollow. Right?
Yep, we can see them.
Okay. Y'all scared me for a minute. So now what we want to do is we're going to go back. And it doesn't really matter which of these marks I go to, because what I'm going to do, I can just leave it in that one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the chuck back to center. If I can get it loose. Tighten it back up. And just like turning any other bowl now, we should be able to just hollow this out, right? Right.
Just a question, Billy. Could you also take the bowl, the tenon that's on the bowl and put it directly into the chuck?
I could if I had a chuck that would accept the 1 5/8 tenon.
Gotcha.
I don't have any. I've got 4 chucks and none of them have jaws that small. Well, they have jaws smaller, but not that size.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
So yes, you
But-
could.
But you could have, when you first started, you could have put a tenet that fit into your chuck and then left the other one a little bit longer and had a double tenet on the bottom.
Yeah, but then I would have had to cut that smaller diameter tenon off before I chucked it back up.
That's correct.
Wait a second, guys. I made the tenon engine 5/8 because that's the size that fits my chuck. You could make it 2 inches if you wanted. There's no, there's no magic to that size.
Hard and fast.
Yeah, I have a one-way Talon chuck and the number 2 jaws open from a 1.5 inches to 2 7/8. So I went 1 5/8.
Right.
Billy,
Yeah,
so
so make the.
why
tenon
did you
that
make
fits
your
the chuck.
tenon the size you did then?
I made the size of the tenon.
Or I mean, the hole in the chuck, I guess.
I made the size of the
Yeah.
hole in the chuck. The size I did because that's the size Jim Duxbury did.
That's right.
Oh,
You gotta follow the drawing.
See, this is my
Gotcha.
chuck. And this is actually 1 5/8. I've got this set at 1 5/8 and it's a little short. It won't chuck up in there.
Yep.
So I could have made the hole this big and done it that way. And so
But on the next iteration, it will be.
yeah, probably, yeah.
next time.
So the reason I did it 1 5/8 is because those are the dimensions that Jim gave us. And I wasn't.
Billy,
thinking
you got
about-
your sticker. You got your sticker in the same spot I've got on my Powermatic.
Oh, right there.
Yep, I've got mine exactly there as well.
Bill, if you want to get anal about the whole thing, you could even make a dovetail socket in that cutting frame to fit your dovetail jaws.
You could do that. All right. I'll start back so that I'm not bumping it, and I'll try not to hit the camera if I can help it. So face shield down. Now what I want to do, if I was a smart man, I would let the tail stop up a little bit. Maybe. Because I have not tried this part yet. I don't know how well it's gonna work. So because of that, I'm just gonna take light cut. I'm not gonna hog material away.
I keep the tailstock in as long as I can usually.
But this isn't a very big piece. Some of those vibration noises are a little disconcerting, by the way. I hate hearing vibration. Ah. Time to make a change. Going to my 43/8. Now. Ah, yeah, it came loose. It came to loose. Let's show you what I mean.
Billy, couldn't you have drilled that first with a?
See the gap?
Careful, all. Let's keep questions like that at the end of the demo.
Oh, and it twisted my chuck. It broke my chuck. And I've got a screw going all the way through here to keep that from happening. So this has become somewhat unsafe at this moment, at this point. The question was what?
Go ahead, Bob. Ask your question again.
Yeah, I think I would have drilled it. Couldn't you have drilled that
Oh,
first?
drill this out?
Yeah.
I could. I definitely could have. And still can, maybe. I'm gonna have to make me a, I'm gonna have to make me a better chuck.
But from safety's sake, you could put that between centers, put a tenon on it and put it in your truck.
I could. And it would probably be better to do that, truth be told. And then drill it out. See how bad out around I am. Oh yeah, it's pretty funky. Yeah. So that's 2 of these chucks I've broken today.
I have to go now.
Bye, Jim.
It looks like we need, it looks like we need to make these trucks out of aluminum instead of wood.
I have to go now. That's funny. Well, Jim, I'm quite certain that you don't, well, you're not turning your bulls at anything nearly as hard as this blackjack oak. I don't think, are you?
No, well, I tell you the truth, I use the tailstock as long as I can. Only for fear, but in fact, even now you got a center, don't you? You still got a center in the piece.
I do.
You could pick that up.
I do, and I will. Oh, you right. And that's why you have BFPs. Been a long time since I wrote that insert. Okay.
I just want to throw out one thing. I broke mine as well, and I took a 1/4 inch carriage bolt and put through it, and it seems to hold a lot stronger. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I didn't use the carriage bolt. I don't, but I did use 3-inch. Which, number 12?
I thought about the same thing on a boat, but I was thinking of sex nut.
Yeah, see, I used a 3-inch number 12 that I pre-drilled and it still broke. And this is oak. I figured this would be hard enough, but maybe not.
I made mine out of poplar and it seemed to work okay, but then it cracked. Like I said, I put a stove bolt through it instead of a carriage bolt. I misspoke.
You guys are tough.
I like it that we've got a French version of the tool, of the chuck, ducks chucks in the chat. I mean, ducks chucks. That's handy. Hey, folks, if you don't follow it right now, shame on you. But Wood Turning magazine is available online. I get mine through Amazon. I pay $3.27 a month for it, and it's got articles in it by some of the finest wood turners in the world. And the last couple have had articles by Mr. Jim Duxbury, because that's where you can go for some details on some of these things we talk about. And this Ducks Chuck will be highlighted in one of the future issues of the Wood Turning magazine. That's Wood Turning. It is from Britain or GK, whatever. And it is an awesome magazine geared towards wood turners. It's not an art book. It doesn't show you the weird stuff. It shows you how to create things on your lathe safely, nicely, and gives you enough detail to where you can follow along. Dump, step after step. And it comes to you by one form of your media, your iPad, your telephone, your laptop or whatever, and you always have it. So you want to look back at it, it's right there. It's called Wood Turning Magazine. And that's where you soon see the ducks chucks.
It's close. It ain't quite right, but it's close. Okay. So what do you do now, Coach? Well, hunt. Sounds like a good option. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make me 10. It's my chuck over here. It means wasting a little bit of the size of the bow. I'm gonna lose a little bit off the bottom, but and for those, if you don't want to measure, if you lay your pencil on top of this, either if you've got the one way or the one that comes with the Powermatic or any knockoff that looks like it, just lay your pencil on that and that will give you the size 10 that you need. I'm not gonna make it very big. Horribly big. But it needs to be big enough. Things that work really well. Right here. Even though unless you got the drag in it, it makes a whole lot of racket.
You know, if everybody's having problems with the chuck breaking, it might be better to make a 2-inch or 2.5-inch tenon and make a bigger frame.
Maybe. Round anymore.
How about if we get around the situation of it breaking by purposely cutting it through and using a sex nut or I'd call it a door closer fastener to pull the pieces together. And you know the crack is going to be there. You've created it, and now that bolt is pulling on it, it might be a way to improve it. But we've seen a bunch of changes to the Stux chuck since Jim Duxbury brought it to our attention last year. So let's all think about it, folks, and come back. Remember, it's your idea. We want to hear about it.
Almost.
Looks like the angle on his skew matches the angle on his chuck jaws. So when he slides in like that, sliding straight on in, there is a angle at that
Yes.
tenon, and it will match up to his chucks. You do not want that to be straight. I don't want it to be straight. I want to be able to have some pull on it.
Correct. A lot of your newer chucks come straight. They don't on the outside. I mean, inside. This is the chuck I'm using is a record power SD four. It does use dovetail jaws inside of it. Have to do. This is way too long and there's no way it's gonna go through the chuck, so. What do you call this demo, Billy? Emergency repair? Or 6 ways to fix something? And now I will take that over to the bench and get my chisel after it and make that full.
While he's doing that, a mod you could make to the chuck is go ahead, drill the hole, and then on both ends, put a 1/4 inch bolt all the way through. On both sides, not one side, put it on both sides. And you got the slot cut in there, and when you put the slot in there, it got a spot that it tighten up on.
That's not a bad idea.
So it can't break where you've already cut.
Keeps getting better and better.
Yep, it cannot break where it's already cut. That's the fact. All right. Not the same as what we were doing earlier, but it will still let us finish it. It just depends on how out around it is. It's not horrible. But it's not good either. So another trick, if you've changed and gone from one chucking method or holding method to another, or if you start off turning between centers like I often do, when you go to turn your piece around to put it in the chuck, you always have a center mark. And that center mark can be your friend. Just because you've got a tenon put on the back and you're holding on here as tight as you can, it doesn't mean that you're gonna get a successful concentric chuck. So what do? You find that center mark. And you put it in on the center mark. And then you tighten the chuck. And if you're turning was a little wobbly for the first time you tried it, that should fix it. And for the most part, it did. Elbow poker out of my way.
That don't feel good on the funny bone.
No. We don't feel good on the unfunny bone either. See how bad I'm not. Maybe. Now maybe we can see how bad I'm not.
I think you just added another center.
Billy, could you switch camera angles?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. There we go.
Oh, how far am I? Yeah. It's off. It is off. Trying to avoid hitting the arm, that flex arm that's holding my camera. It's my tail stop. And my camera cord. No mercy. Only on a demo, folks. But,
Yeah, that's the only time it happens here, Billy. You
but
got it.
my disclaimer is that, like I said at the beginning, I've never done this before. This is totally new to me. Turning isn't totally new to me, but this three-sided thing is. And I'm not gonna waste a whole lot more time on this. I'll turn some of the middle out, I'll drill some out into it. And make it straight.
I think this is going to be a recovery corner project for posting next week.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah, look for the
sure.
post and post it under it.
And while we're talking about safety, when you go to do something like this where you're drilling, a bunch of us have said it before, and I'll say it again. It's important to keep the speed low, but the most important thing is hanging on to this. Hang on to your chuck and your quill. And especially when you're pulling back. I know I should tighten that.
Hear you guys tell me that every time I start to drill something.
Because
What
the
speed
last
you,
thing in
what
the world
speed you
you
turning
want,
at?
last thing in the world you want is you start withdrawing this and this stays stuck in there, and I've had it happen. And if I hadn't been holding on to this, I get this back out of the way and this thing is just all over the place. Talk about a good way to get hurt.
Yep. How fast you turn it? How fast you got the lathe going there while you're drilling, Billy?
450.
450.
I lied, 429.
The Morse taper in the quill is one of the most overlooked things when it comes to lathe maintenance.
Yes.
You always look at the Morse taper on the holding side, the headstock side, but you think, well, the other one's just jammed in. Well, if that one's dirty, it can hold your tailstock and your center off point, which will lead to vibration in your pieces and or a danger. So when you're doing your lathe maintenance, look at cleaning both and be careful how you clean them.
We also got these. All right. You need to make sure you maintain that too. Okay, again, light checks, I don't want to excite this any more than I have to. Because it'll excite me and I don't like that. Okay. So I would go through this process and turn this. I'm still out of center. You can tell I've got a good, almost quarter inch over here. And up here, I'm only about 1/8 of an inch. So this is completely out of center. I will come back at a later date and or in the next few days and see what I can do to salvage this. But for tonight, I think we're just gonna call it there. You saw the premise that I was shooting for, and I can show you how the outside looks, because that's not the bad part. I'm gonna leave it in the chug, but so you can see 3 distinct sides, kind of like the internal bearing of a rotary engine, if you will. But you got 3 distinct curves. And each of these has a much greater arc or diameter than the inside of this circle, or the outside of the bowl for that matter. But I have to figure out a way to get this centered up real well. And right now it's not, because I'm cutting thin over here, thick over there.
Right,
and I don't
taking-
like that.
Taking more off to one side.
But that, the whole point of this is Jim showing us a bowl or a box that he can do with his eccentric chuck, and I was intrigued by that. So I wanted to try it, and I wanted to show y'all. And I did both. I tried a 5 axes, 4 sides. It's not very impressive. I think the 3 is much better.
Yeah.
2 would even be more cool. You're gonna have even great art with just 2 centers, but so that's where we are now. And when I get done with this, I'll make sure I post it on the website. So sorry, this didn't come out the way we all hoped.
No,
I
no,
know,
it's all good.
I know it didn't come out the way I hoped. I was hoping for a successful turn.
Hey, Billy, tell us about your tool rest. It looked
Oh.
like a piece of angle iron with wood in it.
It is. A friend of mine, let me get over there. Years ago, a friend of mine, I told him, I said, I was doing a whole lot of pins back then, and I told him, and he showed a tool rest that he made, and I said, I really like that. Can you make me a couple? I said, I want one that's 6 inches, and I want one that's 3 inches. And so he made these for me. He's a welder. I'm a grinder, and I didn't have any way to weld at the time. By grinder, I mean, they say if you have to grind your welds, you're not a welder, you're a grinder. And I have to
Yeah.
grind my welds, so I'm a
I'm a grinder.
grinder.
I'm a grinder then.
So he made these for me just with a angle iron. And he said, you put your own piece of wood in there, whatever you want to use. And so I had some oak, and I drilled these holes in the bottom. And is that in focus?
Yeah, it is.
And I used square drive screws to hold this piece of oak in. And you've seen me use this tool rest if you've seen my board from a bowl videos, because this is the one. This is the one that my jig fits on and lets me get in close to the bowl when I'm cutting that angle. Anyway, so he made me this 3-inch and this 6-inch, which was easier to get in when I was turning pins, especially when I started doing pins without a mandrel, so turning pins between center. Anyway, that's all it is. It's 1-inch tool post or 1-inch mild steel rod that he welded to a piece of angle iron, and I shaped some oak to fit in the slot. And I am going to be upgrading these pretty soon. I'm going to make sure these are flat, and I'm going to use some JB Weld. I've got some 1/4-inch stainless steel rod that I'm going to JB Weld to the top of this one, the 3-inch, this one.
Yep.
We'll see how all that goes.
Yeah, you'll like that. No more sanding for filing.
I'm getting tired of filing.
Yep.
So I appreciate y'all's patience.
Oh, no worries, Billy. You know, we appreciate you coming in and doing a demo. May not have gone the way you wanted it, but at the same time, we know it's going to be a cool recovery project. We know you're going to figure it out. So it's a learning experience for all of us. So
More often
Yes.
than not, I'm more stubborn in the woods. Sometimes I'm not.
right.
It's actually a better learning experience.
Good job,
All right, well,
Billy.
thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Billy.
All right, if
Thank
anybody's
y'all.
got any questions, you know, throw them in the chat and we'll come back to them here. But we got a few chaps that are waiting to show off their gallery pieces, and I want to get to them, you know, before the program ends. So let me scroll through here and let's see if Tim Holt is still with us. And he is not. So let's see if Terry is still with us. Terry, you still with us?
I am. You got me? I'm right
I
here.
see you. I'm spotlighting you now.
Now I see you. Now you
Yep.
got me.
I
But I
got
don't
you.
have a whole lot of, a couple weeks ago, I showed some spheres that I tried to do following Cade's idea of putting a 4 in the bowl that turned, and I showed everybody the ones that I did. And they didn't work very well, but I come to the conclusion it was because they weren't exactly the same size. So I tried to make some more of the same size, and I made them out of plywood. And they came, I got the sphere thing figured out. They are round. You can roll them across the table and they'll go and go and go. The thing I had trouble with was to put in that bowl, you have to have at least 3 of them the same size or really, really close. I mean, a couple of mil makes a difference, because what happens is when they go around on the bowl, the smaller one or the bigger one goes at a different speed and they run into each other and stop. And they don't spin on forever and ever like they should. But this is all plywood glued up. And as most people know from watching me on here, I'm pretty hard-headed when things don't go my way. So I keep on going until they kind of go my way. And let me see if I can flip this camera and show you what I'm talking about. I worked really hard at trying to get some the same size and the same way. I wound up with 14 different balls, but I do have them round. These come out pretty good, but the one is the plywood, one of the plywood ones is just a little bit, as you can tell, they're pretty round. They roll away real easy. But this one pretty good. Not quite as good as I would like, but they run pretty good. But like I say, if they what happens is if they're not the same size, you can see where they're in the center, where they have to just not touch. As they go around, they run into each other if one's smaller or bigger than the other. But I got them pretty close. But I got that done. And I guess I'm happy with as far as I went on that. The other one little thing whoops, they're all rolling away. They're gonna break my toes. I was gonna say about the recovery thing we're talking about. A couple of weeks ago, I don't know how to screen share. And it ain't worth the trouble, but a couple of weeks ago, I showed a vessel that I made. I started out with one idea and it failed. So I went to recovery and I made a hollow form. And some of you might remember it had a Purple Heart beauty ring and a mesquite finial. And it was like 10-inch vessel. I put it in our local art gallery, our local studio here in town. And just for fun, I put $400 on it. I got a message yesterday that they sold it.
Wow.
So I thought that was a pretty good recovery.
Nice job,
Yeah,
Terry.
nice.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
Good job, Terry.
so anyway, but I did try. If you're on there, Kate, I tried, but I still haven't mastered it. And I don't know if I will, but I did get them round.
Yeah, they look
I
good.
got them pretty close. I got 2 of them right on the money. And then the third one is like 2 mil smaller. And that seems to make a little bit of a difference. It just seems to travel at a different speed and then runs into the other ball. But that's probably all I'll try. I think I'm close enough to having that mastered to go on to something else. That's all I got, guys.
Very
All right,
nice.
thank you, thank you. All right, let's
Well
go
done.
to Saratoga and see what Chief's got going on. Hey, Chief.
Hey, how we doing? Well, I had a
Very good.
gentleman that wanted a big bowl. He's got a camp and he has a lot of people over, so I made this out of ash.
Whoa.
Nice. Look at that.
Nice.
That's the
Very nice.
How
Nice
big is it?
job.
first one I've ever made that big, but
Let's shine on that.
Pretty.
so
What size? 16, 18?
it's 13 and a half by 6.5 deep.
Oh, nice.
And
Very nice.
I finished it with tongue oil. First coat was boiled linseed oil. So I got 3 coats of tongue oil on it. And then just made this little piece of soft maple. I burnt the bottom.
Oh, that looks great.
Beautiful.
It's
Tongue
nice.
oil finish. So
Looks good.
that's what I've been doing. So
Very good, very good.
Looks nice. Yeah.
Very nice.
thank you.
All right, let's go to what everybody's been waiting for, Mr. Duxbury.
Uh-oh, come on.
There he is.
Let me see. If that should come out.
Yes.
I showed that maybe last week. That's a 2-sided box. This is the same thing with a highlight in the middle.
Nice.
Oh, I don't remember. Anyway, you see on the lid, the offset is turned through the lid too. So like I said before, if Billy would have turned like an OG bowl, you would get that configuration right through the OG. Just adds more detail, I think. And this is what happens when you set your calipers wrong. The ID becomes the OD or the OD
Uh-huh.
or something, but I had to show that.
Violation of rule number 747A.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. When I saw that come through, I thought, my God, how stupid. But anyway, too late then. It's not. My wife totally agreed. So anyway, these are just glue ups, but you can make them all kinds of different wooden things. It adds to the fun. But this is the start of it. The tenon on the end. And then I got another piece here. I just finished. Billy did a 3-sided. I think I showed this. That's a 3-sided bottle stopper. It's the same. It's the same. Yeah, when you start doing 4 sides and 5 sides, though, it's like he said, you don't get the detail. It's not as pronounced. And that's why I did this one. This is a bud vase. There's a test tube in it. I'll take it out so I can drop it on the floor. But anyway,
Those are those.
let's turn on 5 centers.
With that chuck.
With that.
Wow.
Oh,
Very good, Jim.
Lots of fun. Did this today. This isn't a very good piece of wood. I just wanted to see what happened. It would probably work better with like 8 centers. These are like 1-inch spaces. And if I'd have made 8 centers and had this more detailed, you'd see it spiral more rather than 4 centers. Like this one just kind of doesn't blend into the other one. I've got some that are 8 centers, but they were done between centers. We got, oh, my wife's paying attention here. Give me that one. Here's one that's 8 centers done between centers without that chuck. This is before that chuck. But you can see 4 centers is not enough centers.
That's
Anyway,
What was your, Jim, what was your spacing on your center points for that?
there's 8 centers. The
Right,
amount-
right. What was the spacing off center?
Oh, the
3/8,
offset?
half inch?
The offset was a little over, wait a minute. I tried 1/2 inch and that wasn't good. I think the offset on this one was 3/4 of an inch.
Okay.
Yeah,
What was it on the 8?
on the 8, I don't remember. I drew this and put 8 centers on here by eye. It was probably about the same thing, 3/4 of an inch.
Okay.
I put 8 centers on this end and 8 centers on this end, and then put it between centers and turned each one of these. First, you drill a hole. And then once you drill a hole, you actually turn the depth to that space right there. So this is 2 centers. This is 8 centers parallel. You can go nuts doing this as I'm proving right now. This is 1 center on this end and 8 centers on this end. So this is flying around this way, not this way.
God.
This is going around this way. That's why this center here is larger than this center here, because you're closer to the main axis here. This is going around like this. You hold your breath and shove your parting tool in the first one. And then you kind of go from there. Right?
Oh my
Looks
goodness.
surprisingly like a camshaft and maybe kind of a crankshaft too.
Well, these are crankshaft. These are parallel.
Yeah.
But I have crankshafts too. I've made crankshafts, but this is kind of fun. This goes around. I was going to do 4 this way and then 4 this way. That would be interesting too. But
They are interesting that way.
maybe some other day. Anyway, that's it for me.
Right on, Jim. Thank you.
Nice job, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, let's come back to Billy Berg.
Those are cool. Well, oh,
Billy.
okay. Dane said I didn't show these from my last demo, which was a success using the Dux Chuck. Remember that rather diamond shaped piece that I did first, that I just moved in one direction and cut the grooves in? Well, I used coral colored stain from Rust-Oleum on the grooves, and I used their vintage aqua on the outside of that, and some coral on the back. I tried to torch it, but I didn't like it, so I sanded it off and stained it with coral. Well, this is the pendant, or I guess it could be a brooch, but I've got a hole drilled in it, so it will be a pendant. I finished it with semi-gloss spar urethane. And if I showed that already, I'm sorry.
No, I don't recall it, so you're fine.
I can't remember if I did, but what I'm really proud of are the earrings. Remember the piece that I had the laser burn in the 2 teardrops, and then I tried to center that and make cuts that would work. And I have done that, and I hand sanded them all up, and I think they match relatively closely. I used water-based polyurethane as the finish on these. They're just clear gloss. And again, this was mountain cedar or ash juniper, and I think they came out relatively nice. In fact,
Yes, they did.
in fact, somebody saw them, and they're sold. So I have to. And matter of fact, Sunday morning I showed them to somebody, and he said, "I want them." So they're
Outstanding.
anyway. That was it. So the things that you can do. My whole point, other than the top of my head, is the things that you can do with the Dux Chuck. Your imagination is your only limitation. Just try some stuff and see what happens. Experiment like I did, and you'll be amazed some of the things that you come up with. And they'll make a lot of those that I did in the demo that I haven't done anything with yet. I finished these 2 pieces, but the others I've already decided I'm going to use them for inlays for box lids and things.
Billy, the earring.
Why not?
That one turning cut in 2.
Yes, sir. It was one turning cut in 2. I laser engraved. I had a thin piece of wood, and I laser engraved the outline of 2 teardrops in it, and they were same size and same. And so what I did is I found the center between those 2 and between the top and bottom, and that's what I made the center when I double stick taped it to the chuck. And then I just tried to make sure that I did the same kind of turnings in the same spaces, regardless of when I turned it. And I got pretty close. It's not exact, but it's close enough. When one's in one ear and the other's in the other ear, you're not going to be able to tell.
Ears don't match either, probably.
Yeah, no.
True.
So that's all I got. Thanks.
Very nice, Billy.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we're gonna go back across the pond here. I'm not sure if Paul's got something else he wants to show. But I'm gonna pull Paul up here. Paul, what's going on? You got another piece to show?
Pardon?
Do you have another project to show?
Not at the moment, no. Actually,
okay.
yes, I have actually, yeah. I'll have to show you some pictures though, because it was it's gone to the customers.
Okay.
Let me just find it. Give me a sec.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, there it is. Yeah, there's a little job I worked on last week. I just need to do a screen share on this one.
Certainly.
That should do it. Oh no. We've got a long screen there. Try again. Is that it? Can you see that?
We got you in 2 screens.
Right. Let me try again. Got
We
the
had
other
your
room.
OSB screen, Paul.
Pardon?
I mean OBS. We had your OBS screen the first time.
All right. Right, that should be photos. Right, is that better?
Yeah, we got it.
There.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, I made well, there was 10 of those, and then about 16 of those, I think it was, and then 10 of those. So some restoration jobs for a friend I know that makes or restores furniture, and every now and again he comes up with these things he wants, either legs for bits of furniture turning or knobs, and this time it was 3 different sets of knobs for different pieces of furniture. So interesting project, just sort of making them all the right size and shapes, really. But
Right. What kind of wood is that?
that's oak, that one.
Oak.
Yeah, that one's oak.
You make a template for those or something?
No, all I do is take the key measurements and set up dividers and calipers and use those to size each one as I go.
Okay, wow.
If I did larger numbers, then yes, it would probably make sense to make a scratch board or something like that. But I'm usually working in fairly small numbers, so 10 or so. That just doing it with calipers is easy enough.
Nice job.
Yeah, great job. Paul.
Beautiful.
But yeah, the interesting one with these was I thought, how am I going to cut the split in the wood? But what I ended up with is just a block of wood, and I just drilled a hole in it that the spigot fitted in a good fit, and then figured out how deep I needed to cut the block. And I drew a sort of center line down this block of wood, drilled a hole so the knob went into the hole, and then set up the bandsaw so the fence was the right distance to cut on the center line. So I just put each knob into this block and put it through the bandsaw as far as it needed to go. I just drew a pencil line on the block so I knew where to stop. So just improvising a rough and ready block of wood, basically, just to do the cuts in the wood. So nothing too technical, but yeah, it just gets you thinking about different things. But yeah, these 2 are fairly straightforward ones with just with spigots on that we're going to be glued in. But yeah, that one's a split, so it's put in with a wedge.
Right.
Super.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty
something
slick.
different.
Definitely. All right. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Very nice.
All right. Let's go back to Eddie.
Well, I
Eddie,
tell you,
how you doing?
I liked it. What you did with that spigot by cutting a hole, I did that a long time ago in a project when I was in cabinet making class, and got a lot of points for it because it makes a nice presentation from the inside. So when they open the drawer, they don't see the head of a screw. They
Yeah.
see a very clean cut piece with accent color driven into it. And the key is to make the accent color uniform or
Sure,
the
yeah.
accent vertical. But it's a nice idea. And just like Paul told you how to cut it, that's the way. I mean, I thought about it, and was trying to cut the slice before I turned it and use that for won't work. But it's an interesting project if you want to give it an attempt. It's just like we saw with Billy tonight. We toy around with some ideas and some things, and we see technique. And in the back of your mind, way back there in the cobwebs and the shavings, you're thinking, you know what? I can probably, well, that's what we're looking for. What can you probably twist into it and get to it? Because that's where all these ideas are coming from. And everything we see here, everything, we have not had a single person say, look what I can do. Every one of them say, look what I do that you can do. Because just like Paul was saying just now, when he turned those knobs, those look like they're simple knobs. done with the right finesse, done with the right material, turned and sanded to the right degree, not over sanded to a finish, just sanded to the right degree. It makes for an interesting looking project. And think about
Eddie?
this. Yes, sir.
Can you make the announcement for the AEW for the folks that are going to the AEW? And
It's on
then
my list.
and then we've got one more, and then two people that weren't available earlier. We're going to go back and try and snag them for gallery if they've came back. So
Right. Okay, we were talking earlier, Trace brought this up earlier, that if you are going to visit the AAW for the symposium, which is in 2 weeks, and you're heading up to Louisville, and would you like to meet with another member of worldwidewoodturners.org? Sure you would. So if you're going to the symposium, put your name and your phone number in chat right now and save the chat and make sure it's your cell number so he can call you on your cell number. And then you call him, your contact to get together. And I thought that's a great way to meet folks. He'll be with the OTI Ornamental Turners there. I'm going to send him a roll of these or a bunch of these decals that we had made up for the club so we can get the word for the club out to people who visit. But that's one way to do it. Scott Hampton wasn't happy with that idea. Scott wasn't, no. But y'all know Scott's hard to get along with. So Scott came up with another idea. When he goes to SWAT, he's going to reserve a room, a complete room, and perform a demonstration in that room. And we're going to call it worldwidewoodturners.org special meeting. Yes. And everybody at the symposium at SWAT can attend. So see, Scott said, I'm not going to be outdone. I'm coming up with this idea, but that's one way. We joke about this, and I've teased about it for 20 years. SWAT, I feel that's my favorite place to go. It's like going to a family reunion with family you really like. So when you're heading there this year, put it in there. I see Ray's already put his name in. He'll see you at the AAW. There's a handful of folks I know will be there. So go visit, share ideas. And the best part of it is you will probably go to these symposiums and find something that I will miss. So I'm relying on you to find it. Yeah. And then tell me about it. You can come right here to a meeting and tell us about it. Take pictures of it, do a screen share or whatever. Send us photographs to worldwidewoodturners@gmail.org with the photograph of it or the information of it. We will pass it around. We are not sponsored. We have no solid affiliations with any manufacturer, any dealer, anybody. You've seen a couple of demonstrators who tonight who sell their work, who teach for a living. This is bread and butter for them. And they come forward each week and share with us. And that's what we want to do. So if you got something, don't keep it a secret. Let us know about it. So that's the thing about the AAW. SWAT's coming up in the end of August. Hope to see you there at SWAT. It's Southwest Association of Turners. You want details, go to SWATURNERS.org. It's SWATturners.org. Only one T in there. Okay. And you'll get more details on it. You can still get a deal on your hotel room at 2 or 3 hotels they're aligned with. But it's a good time to be had by all. And there's a lot of camping facilities in the area. I mean, I think Trace is bringing his portable and going up there and going to camp out. I think Tim Hatch said he's going to do the same thing. So we have a lot of folks that get together like that. And if you ever want to have good Texas cooking, Waco's hard to beat, really is. All right. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour.
I'm going to get to meet Tom Kenny there, and I'm going to get to meet Scott Hampton there. I'm excited.
Yeah,
all right,
all these folks.
Let's
and they all get to meet you, Billy. They all get to meet you. That's the bonus.
Then everybody's going to,
Oh, yeah.
going there is going to get to meet this guy as well. Hey,
Uh-oh.
Tim.
Hey, how's it going? So a couple weeks ago,
Hey,
I
pretty
turned
good.
And of course, the top came off on it, you know, inside diameter should not exceed the outside diameter. And so I was trying to figure out what to do with it. And I thought, what would Birdhouse Bob do? So I turned it into Birdhouse. I know I showed this on the Facebook page. Some of the folks hadn't seen it before. So I've got the brass inlay. It's Osage orange. I got spalted pecan on the top and on the bottom finial, and then the perch is ebony.
That's really pretty, Tim.
That
This
is,
nice job on
what started the recovery, if I remember correctly, Eddie. So I just wanted some folks to see that. And
Nice, Dave.
Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
very good. Snap a photo and post it on the recovery project page when it posts later this week.
this guy right here is responsible for us creating the recovery room. This guy right here, right here.
Yeah,
When
it
you
was-
come
it was-
forward, when you
it
come
was
forward
terrible
and show
blow
us,
when that blew out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
show us that a piece
Yeah.
of wood you put your heart and soul into for a little bit goes south, you can follow it and bring
Right.
it back north with you in a heartbeat. And that's
Yeah.
why I can't, well, as soon as I looked at it, I said, you know, we have to create a section just, not just for them, just so we can appreciate what people do. I mean, Billy bailed out something tonight. And we see of other folks. I mean, we spend all evening mentioning names of people that show us things that they have salvaged or saved or recovered. And appreciate it, Tim. It's beautiful work, beautiful work.
Appreciate it.
Great job. All right.
And,
All right, let's go to,
the finish, because I didn't talk finish real quick. That's about 4 coats of Def Lacquer over the top of that. So I don't
Very
think
nice,
it's gonna be outside. I think she's just gonna keep it inside, but we'll see what happens to it.
Yeah. Very
Very
nice,
nice.
Tim. Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's go to Mr. George. Hey, Dave.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Dave.
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Been traveling a lot, but trying to get a little time in the wood shop. But so I remember watching a video by Doug Miller on turning a square platter out of a 2x6 or 2x8. I can't remember what it was, but so anyway, I was helping my brother build a horse fence down in southern Minnesota here, and we ended up with some scrap 2x6s of untreated wood. So I started trying to make, let me see here,
Ooh,
square plates.
Those are nice, Dave.
And
Cool.
I have, this is the thinner one that I made. I have some that's a little thicker, but trying to figure out how to keep the corners on these things. And the other part of it is that this one here is I can see light.
got
through it.
thin
I almost
there.
I almost made a funnel through this one. And so I'm going to figure out what I want to do for finish on it. And one little corner came off over here because after I was sanding. So I may round the corners off of it. But anyway, it's a good learning process in regard to using just pine wood.
Very
for
nice.
structural lumber, to make it good. I am having some problems though with my bowl gouges, and I'm about a 50, 55, 58 degree on my sweat back bowl gouges. Even on this shallow here, it seems like when I get down here, I still don't get, it looks like a clear cut until I start sanding, then I start seeing tool marks, and then it isn't quite as smooth in here, so I have to sand more than I want to. So I may want to use my bottom feeder to see if that would help at all. I don't know. So
How do you aim your
rolling
flute when
wood.
you get down it, when you get down in there? How do you aim your flute of your tool? Are you aiming the flute at the center, or is your flute upwards at an angle?
actually, I'm trying to aim it toward the center. Once I get down, I'm trying to aim it toward the center. So when I get to that very center and I close the flute, so it gets a good cut off there, so it doesn't tear out.
Are you doing a fresh sharpening on that last pass?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, Dane, what I'm saying. When I start out hotter on the ends here, I leave a center mass in here as much as I can, and I come in, and then I try not to come back out here anymore than I have to. But then I can see where I left off. I'll try to pick it up, and I'll get a very fine cut going back in for that last pass. And I tried sharpening my tools again too for the same thing.
Instead of aiming the flute directly at the center, try coming at it more gently with the flute aimed at a higher, at 45-degree angle, so it's not aimed at the center. So
Okay.
you're riding the bevel and coming across with a consistent cut all the way to the center. So that way, I mean, because as you get closer to the center, your radius, oh, that's thin. Your radius gets thin and it gets tighter and tighter, and the whole way things are cutting change because it's coming into the tool at a different angle.
Okay.
So try coming, like if this is the center line of if this is the center of your piece,
right?
Okay, and this is the center of the piece from the center line. Try coming in across that center with the tool at the same angle, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I'll try that.
Okay.
As far as
So-
the very thin hair, I think I'm gonna just put some resin in the bottom of here and color that a little bit, and so I don't put my finger through it. The other one here, out of the same fencing for the horse fence. Again, this got a little thin in here too, but I took 2 pieces of this and actually I put a piece of walnut in between them, laminate them together. And this is my first attempt at some of this here, and I blew the corners right off of it. And so I had to round those off, and I'm learning as I'm going here. Kind of gets a little thin in the middle here. But
Real nice. It looks good, Dave.
well, thank
Still
you.
looks nice, real
I
nice.
figure what I'm gonna do is that give this to my brother who we're building the fence for, and he could his wife makes sourdough bread, so they can put a sourdough bread on this when we come down to eat or something like that. So
Yeah, right,
Excellent.
sounds
Cool.
good.
And
It's a
then
good sandwich holder.
it is. So then here's another one that and I get this from you, Dane, actually is trying to stain with Rit dye. And so
Okay.
so this is the same fencing board, that construction board that I use. And I use some Rit dye and I have 1 coat of Minwax tongue oil finish on it.
Okay.
Like this. And again,
Ah,
you can
look at
see
that.
that you can see in here, you can see where I'm not getting the flat where I need to here.
Right.
And that's what I need to work on that. So I see my problems. And I just figured I'm one of these guys, I can't throw anything away very well, so I keep
Yeah,
practicing.
try that technique that Matt was describing.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yep.
And same with this one here then is a longer piece, and this one was talking to me the whole way, and I thought I was getting a good, but it was getting thin enough on the edges that it was chattering on me. So I think the thing was, I was spinning it around 2100 RPMs, and it was kind of chattering at me, but it wasn't bad cut, but I had to sand off more than I wanted to. So
Yeah.
I'm learning as I'm going here. I just want to share some of the things that I'm trying
Outstanding.
here, and I want to try this on some of this inexpensive wood before I get into the expensive woods and try to learn from my problem.
That's a great way to do it.
And the last one
You're
here.
doing a good
this is-
job, Dave.
Thank you very much. This here is, it was a crotch out of a old apple tree on my backyard, crab apple tree. And it wasn't the best. It was kind of going to hell in the handbasket. So I basically got it down as thin as I could, and it was porous all the way through. And again, I
All that
used
in,
the
right.
tongue oil finish
Very
on it.
nice.
And then I had a crack in here that I filled with some resin. And then I used Dane, I used your Rit dye idea. And so I'm buying some
Nice.
different color Rit dye, and I'm trying.
There you go.
It's coming out. It's coming out. I'm learning as
Yeah.
I'm going here.
It's
So
looking good. It's looking good.
well, I appreciate everybody's help, and like I say, it's every Wednesday night. It's always a learning experience, and I pick up something all the time. So anyway, I just wanted to share what I've been doing.
Hey, Dave,
Right
can I
on.
jump in there for a minute?
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'd like to jump in there for a minute. On those square bowls that you're doing, I've done a lot of those with construction lumber. And what I did with them was I glued waste blocks on the side of them and turned them around. And that way I could get real consistent runs. And then I cut the waste blocks off and went back to square.
Wow.
Do you follow what I'm saying? One on each side?
Yes, I am.
Like if you're using a 2x6, put a 2x4 on each side. and then you just make a complete round bowl. When you're done, cut them back off.
Ah. Okay,
Works really nice because you can get a nice, you know, you can run bevel all the way across.
right, okay.
Good idea,
Okay.
Terry.
I appreciate it, Terry. Thank you.
All right, let's go back to Chief Morgan here. He's got a suggestion. Hey, Chief.
That's Dennis.
Yeah, let me unmute myself. When you got talking about I don't know if you probably can't see this, but with the two bolts, if you went ahead and drilled a hole on both sides, and then when you make your cut in, that way it would flex in the middle to go ahead and give you your friction point, and it would probably be stronger versus than just cutting one hole and pinching on one side. I'm just throwing it out there. I was just thinking about it. I'm not an engineer, but I just figured it may work a little better and may be stronger in the center. You know, just for a discussion point.
That might work. It's worth a try.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna find out
This is
next
in
week.
And this is in reference to the Dux chuck.
Yeah, the Dux chuck, you know, how we were talking about, I forget, somebody mentioned putting two bolts on each side. But if you cut through, drill two holes first, then cut through, and that way your pinch point will be right in dead center.
Right.
Hey, Dane. This
Yeah.
is Scott. I made my last Dux chuck out of 7-layer 3/4 inch plywood to eliminate the chance of it breaking like they've been breaking.
You made it out of what?
7-ply 3/4 inch plywood, because your plywood
Okay.
is cross grained, so it can't. Each
Crisscross.
layer goes a different direction.
And 7-ply is cabinet grade, so you don't have any holidays or footballs in there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like cabinet grade Baltic birch?
No, I actually used hardwood. I used
Okay.
red oak 7-ply plywood.
Okay. Good tip. Good tip.
Mhm.
Let's see. All right, let's go to Doug Miller. He's got a question or a suggestion or something.
Yeah, it's a question. And we talked about it, I don't know, it's been a while back, but Eddie brought it up earlier when we're talking about our Morse tapers and keeping those clean. We used to have that great little tool called a green weenie. Crazy name for a great tool. And it was so simple. You know, you stick it in, give it a twist and pull it out, and it was done. And a couple of people, Gerald mentioned a 12 gauge brass cleaning brush. Joaquin came in the chat and said something about in the plumbing department, a brush to clean the copper fittings. And those are great. Those will work. But I still think if somebody has one of those green weenies stuck back in their shop somewhere and could get that to a 3D printer, somebody could make some money. There's an opportunity there for a market. That company just dropped it. Packard Woodworks was the one they were the retailer, and they did not understand. They could not give me a reason why the company dropped it. They were bewildered, and they would have paid a fortune the day I talked to them for anybody willing to print those up. So, guys, I'm telling you, there's a market there.
I'm shocked Alan didn't want to print one up. Alan Packard.
Yeah, well, he at that time he did not have that ability.
Yeah.
You know, he could have gone out and bought one.
Interesting.
He could have gone and bought a printer, I'm sure. But he just, I guess his business at the time was too much. He didn't want to do it. But he and I talked for quite a while. He was saying if somebody would do it, I'd buy everyone they could get off their machine. So there's a market there.
Right. Yeah, good idea. See what comes of that. So, all right. Well, let's go to always faithful Mr. Joaquin. How are you tonight, sir?
Yeah, you know, I got in hooked on that Duxbury offset jig, and mine broke too, and I put a hinge on mine. to keep it together where it wouldn't be separate and lose the pieces and parts. But I went to Pat Carroll's demo the other day, last Sunday, and he had a Paul Howard design, which was made out of plywood, like so. And on the backside, you know, you put your recess with a dovetail in it, and you can cut the other piece where this thing will swivel back and forth. And, you know, you put a gauge up on top here where you can decide where you want this thing, or some kind of regulation there. I can get 3/4 inch offset out of this one, which that was turned on that. Now, this one here, I ended up, let me take these bolts out. And it really is, don't get a lot of wobble in it also when it's spinning on the chuck, I mean on the lathe. I ended up screwing this on because I used two-sided tape to put that on and do that pendant. Well, they made a comment about, hey, somebody would make one that would split where you could do that. So okay, that was the challenge. I had to do that. So here's one that's a split where it's got bolts on each end here to tighten it up, to put the tension on the tenon or whatever you're turning there. And so it's not bolted on the back side like the other one. It's sort of got the same design as the Duxbury. And I can get almost an inch offset on this one. And it's made out of plywood, and I find it a lot stronger, like Scott was talking about. And turned a duck on it the other day. I don't know where it is. It's around here somewhere. But just, you know, another way to do things. And it's pretty cool. But this Paul Howard out of the UK, he's an inventor deluxe. He's got all kind of little jigs and stuff. And another step, I guess you'd say.
Well, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that there, Joaquin.
You bet. That's all I got. I've been really busy. I hadn't been able to be out in the shop much.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. All right, let's go back to our wonderful host, Captain Eddie. Eddie.
Boy, I tell you what, you guys
nice.
keep you keep tweaking on these little ideas, and they're all good. I like Dennis's idea a little while ago about the split going through and play with that idea. Play with the idea of what you can do with what you have. And somebody said to use some 7-layer cabinet ply. Don't go buy a sheet. Go find a cabinet maker nearby. That's drop material. They don't give it away. You have to trade for it, but it's drop material. You'll pick up that. And when you make friends with that vendor, I made friends with a Korean vendor who used to be an apprentice of mine. And Korean is hard to get a hold of sometimes. He'd call me and say, it's time to bring your trailer. I'd go pick up 1,000 pounds at a time of scraps from Korean, all kinds of drops and cutoffs. Because it was easier for him to give it to me and get it out of his shop than it would to have folks come try to root through his garbage can, his trash can, his dumpster, and all that stuff. And it was a lot of times having somebody come visit their shop is a real pain. It is. Number one, it could be dangerous. Number two, you kind of open the door to the rats. And you have to, a lot of folks get careful. This once burned, never touch it again. So make a friend with the folks. Go in there as a friend, not under demands, and offer them a little something. Turn an ink pen for them. That always gets a lot of points when you're dealing with somebody that deals with the wood. Do something out of a piece of exotic wood and bring it to them. Even just a little ink pen holder or a business card holder for the desk. Bring in a trinket with you when you go in. Pave the way. But that's where I'd get my drops. I've always looked to get my drops from people who actually have drops. I mean, we just saw where he turned those bowls out of a blank pieces of fence board he brought back from working at his in-laws house. You know, that is a good source of material. I do like what was said about putting that banding edge on it because I've done a lot of what I eventually came out to be square platters, but I turned them all the way through as a plate with a sacrificial edge. And I did the brown paper and white glue method of adhering them. And when I got done, it was just a matter of getting it positioned on a good sharp edge and a good blunt pop, and off it came. Easing it with the pocket knife may help a little bit, but it's a way to get down to an edge that you can scrape clean, and it's a finished piece, and you'll keep those corners. And you talk about 4 corners, play with it a little bit. You're not limited to 4 corners. You go up and down with those numbers as much as you want. It's how creative can you be when you're setting it up and doing your layout. And consider softer woods go to the outsides, not to the inside. All right, a couple of good tips tonight. I like the idea that Mark Sallee gave us for making the depression tool. That was very simple, easy to operate rig, didn't get you in hazard. And oh yeah, if you looked at buying a tool for doing that little dovetail on your lathe, and cutting it when it was on a faceplate or whatever, and going in, most of them made required to go straight in. You don't have that room with the headstocking away. And if you take your headstocking away, you've seen what happened with Billy tonight. We can get some wobble and some walk. And when you get that, it's time, it's recovery time. So think about keeping a tailstock up in place, making your own tools. Jim Duxbury said he made his out of a screwdriver. I got one too. I was just always afraid to show it on YouTube because it's one of those homemade jigs that works fine for me, but I don't want to put it in your mind that you can do some things that are not really safe. So I'm always a little bit careful when I fire the camera up as to what will you see, where will I make my mistakes, and what will I be showing you? Because it's a key thing. We're here to share information, not bad ideas, just information. Again, if you're going to AEW, put your name and your cell phone number in our chat tonight. Save the chat, that's what Donald says. Save the chat, and then you'll have it with you when you go to the AAW. Now, if you want, Brenda suggested you print off our contact list, and you can request a copy of our contact list through the contact us on our website. There's a little block, the little red star, click contact list, fill out the form exactly as it asks. And I mean, the punctuation, the capitalization, everything else is going to be right. And the subject is Captain, capital CAPTAIN. Dave did that for us. But that's how you get the contact list. How long does it take? It took 1 minute and 4 seconds for me to press go to where it showed up on my email account. Oh yeah, I did go to a different email vendor. I went to AT&T and got rid of Terrible Mobile. We did that. I'm almost ready to get back into running OBS through my program because my bandwidth got so poor. And you know about this. It's not always the bargain that you think it would be. So we've made a couple of upgrades into it. If you got something to demonstrate for us, this is the place to do it. Who we have on top for next week, Dane?
We have, check my calendar here. Next week, we have Mr. Hatch.
Ruh-roh.
We're taking back the country there, Eddie. We're building.
You are taking back the country? All right. Remember, folks, Monday is Memorial Day. Honor and respect those who gave up the ultimate price for our freedom. It's Monday. Honor them. Fly your flag. Thank a troop for what they're doing. And remember, the troop you thank today, they're volunteers. Yeah, they stepped up. And so we need to thank them and appreciate them. But it's Memorial Day, not Veterans Day is in November. But it's a chance for us to take a step forward and thank those who protect our freedom. Remember, we still collect freedom pens. That information is on our website. You turn freedom pens for any of the 6 branches of the military. We've got contacts to get them to them, and those troops get those pens. It's a nice coming out of basic training or returning back to the USA. I think I got to initially be friends with Doug Rowett through the Freedom Pens Project when he was in the sand. There's a lot of good friends that's right here that we talk to each and every week that have went through that. And some pay dearly and some are still paying. So let's respect all of them, if you would, please.
Many
Tim
gave
Hatch next
some,
week.
Some gave all.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And freedom
Open
is
check-
never,
open check, you know.
and freedom has never, ever been free.
Nope.
Really. Off the box. All right. Next week, Tim's going to take back the country. If you don't know what it's about, it's a fun little project. We have a clip on our website from a Martin Clarkson thing he did earlier, maybe late last year, where he turned a cannon with a party popper in it. That will make your 4th of July lunch interesting. Oh, let's keep it down to a party popper, okay? And listen, that's like really crazy on it. But have a little fun with it and such. And we want to see what you come up with. It's a chance to use up shop scraps, get creative, and show us your technique and your style, your holding abilities. If you can turn it, you can. If you can hold it, you can turn it. I watched what Martin did and thought the whole time of jigs and rigs I could make, that if I wanted to put these things on my craft table at a art fair, craft fair, or whatever, swap shop or whatever, I want to put them on the table. Number one, I'd overload on the party poppers, because if you sell them the cannon, you got to sell us some extra party poppers. But number two, just make sure the kids are watching when it happens. Your sale is locked in. If the kids are watching when that thing pops, that's it, Dad. You're going to buy one, and it'll be fun. And when you bring things like this to family dinners, years ago, I made a whole bunch of these wine bottle holders that tip up an angle, and you put the bottle through and it balances out. And I brought one to my father-in-law's house, and he had a really nice mahogany table in the dining room. And he got up and left the table, and he came back. That bottle was sitting in that holder right there. And he said, "Who did that to my table?" And I thought that was it. You know, I would never. This relationship with this lady is not going to go any further than this. It's done with, you know. But he loved it. We had a ball with it. I made about 30, 40 more in the next couple of weeks. But it was fun to make the jig to do it. You've seen tonight that we've played around with the ducks, chucks, and mentioning that, I see that there's a couple of entries in chat tonight about how to get a subscription to Wood Turning Magazine. We're not sponsored by anybody for anywhere or anything, but Wood Turning Magazine's got articles by Jim Duxbury, and one coming up soon will be about the ducks chuck. But right now he's got one there about a pair of heart-shaped bowls. Now, I got that earlier this week on my iPad and read through it. I had to go back and read it 2 or 3 times, because I'm thinking, this guy, Jim Duxbury, this guy threw in tips and hints and ideas that's been developed over years and years and years. And they're almost perfect. Gives you an idea. And don't think about that big. Whatever size you want, you can do. And we'll share more of those ideas. Tips and tricks. Dane's going to find us an open date for tips and tricks, because that is the Jim Duxbury hour. That's all it is to it. We want to see what you come up with, and if we all are amazed by what he's come up with, what do you think you have in your shop that I'd like to know about? I mean, look what Mark Soleil came up with tonight. Now, take a look what Mark did. Think about the old scrapers and the old damaged tools you have around your shop that are just not worthy of doing this or that with. You see, you're only limited right here. If you take that old round bar and flatten out the bottom and get a piece on it. You can go back in and resharpen that edge. You've got that tool. You've got a steel tool that will make that nifty little rig right there. And just like we watched Billy tonight, putting it tenon on a piece, he went in with the skew, laid on a flat. Really, it's not a skew. It's a double-bladed negative edge scraper. That's technically what it is. He went in with that and created a perfect tenon to match the size of his the profile of his jaws. He put the pencil on top of the guide to give you an idea what the outside is. I've always cheated. I got a little jig to give me a mortise and a tenon. I can't get mine out of the shop right now, but I've got one made for each of my chucks so that my mortise or my tenon that match those chuck jaws will match up ideally. And that's it. That's the sizing, put it right away. And I made all mine out of corian so they won't shrink and all. But here's the deal. Don't drop them on the floor. They're made out of corian. You have to glue them back together again. But we've had some great times tonight. Look, folks, you make my week. I don't know how it is around your house. You make my week because here I sit with 100 of my friends and we chat, sitting on a tailgate, telling stories, looking forward to getting together with you and sharing great ideas on wood turning. That's what brought us together 190 weeks ago. And I'll be back here again next week with you and everybody else. We do not call this quits at 9 o'clock Central Time. All we say is it's open. Just like the chat, it's
after
open.
Hours.
It's
Enter
the after
at your
hours
own
chat.
risk.
Boy, I tell you what, the stuff I cheat. Y'all know I stay and listen. I record it. I look at it. I pay for it. The stuff you come up with is outstanding. Don't hold back. And whatever you do, don't pinch Joaquin. Because if you pinch Joaquin, he's going to come up with some stuff that you won't believe. And you'll all be saying, why didn't I think about that? Why didn't I think about that? Well, that's why we're here. I've had a great week, folks. We had a couple of great demonstrations tonight. If you would like to be more involved in this club, it's so simple. It's your club. Just ask. I want to thank all the co-hosts tonight, the host, all the people, our benefactors that make this thing go on each week. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Bring a friend, invite somebody, order stickers.
Bring a friend, tell a friend.
That's it. That's it. Got plenty of room in the seat. This is a big, I almost said the wrong word. This is a big tailgate. We got plenty of room in here. So, I mean, we'll get a room to have Billy Burt and friends. You know, I mean, look, but I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I'm out of here. I'll see you next week. Until then, in the words of Safety Sue, be safe. In the words of Donald Masterson, save the chat. I'm doing it right now. Save the chat. Thank you, folks. Take care. Be safe, please.